I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this story. Have you guys heard about Kylie Rodney? Kylie Rodney is from California. She is only 16 years old. I think this is a very important story to talk about because it's important for parents to hear this sad tragedy. But this young lady, she's 16 years old, enjoying the summer with her friends and, just a wonderful girl. She decides to go to a party that's located in Tahoe in the Truckee location. And if anybody is familiar with that area, there is lots of bodies of water. Some of the roads aren't the best. And most definitely, you should never drive at all under the influence of alcohol. But also more so, you should never drive in this particular area if you have consumed any form of alcohol, because it is a death sentence, basically. But this young lady, such a sweet girl, I'm really worried about this story, guys, because learning about her background, it appears that her parents, based on the information I found, allegedly, had already had prior knowledge that their daughter, who was 16 years old, had consumed alcohol in the past. And it didn't appear as though the parents had disciplined her or talked to her about drinking alcohol. It seemed like they were okay with it. And that's based on some of the allegations that were said. Some of the allegations that have been released when they were looking for Kylie was that she had drank alcohol in the past and she would never get behind the wheel if she had consumed alcohol. And when I heard that statement from one of the family members, allegedly, that was, floating around about this story, it really alarmed me, because this young girl is 16 years old. It makes me wonder, where was the supervision for this young girl? Where was the discipline? Why did these parents allow this young 16-year-old girl to drink alcohol and also be able to have a vehicle? Those two deadly combinations. I mean, that was really something that worried me about the case, that, oh goodness, the family had already known she'd been drinking alcohol as a 16-year-old. And we know in California, you have to be 21 years old to drink alcohol. And she was definitely not that age. And, the family had so much faith that she would never drive a car if she had been drinking, because before, when she had been very intoxicated, she told her parents that she wasn't going to drive because she was intoxicated. So they thought, she would never do that. That is what the parents were saying. But I was thinking to myself, why did the parents allow her to drink in the first place? Also, the question that I had for this story was, why did the parents allow her to go to this party? There was 200 people at this lake or whatever it was, guys. And it was like 12 or something early in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, where these kids were allowed to still stay. If I had a 16-year-old daughter, my daughter would not be at a party past 12 or 2 o'clock in the morning with no supervision at a lake in the dark. And I'm telling you, Truckee area is very dangerous. And if you're over there with 200 people in the wilderness, basically, I mean, that's pretty much where that area is. And it's pitch black. I mean, number one, you're putting your young 16-year-old in danger of, possibly some pedophile going out there harming the child. Or, again, them driving those dangerous roads at night. And if the parents are already aware that her child's drinking, making another, concern. So this story, guys, really worried me. So I thought we should talk about this sad, devastating story. So where was Kylie last seen? According to witnesses, Kylie arrived on the evening of Friday, August 5th, for a party of about 200 to 300 teenagers. That's insane, guys. Insane. That amount of teenagers in the middle of nowhere. And young adults at a Prosser family campground in Truckee. That is so dangerous. They should have parents there. I mean, campground, think about it. In the middle of the night, there could be wild animals out there, bears come into the location, you name it, out there in that wilderness, middle of nowhere, and there's no parent supervision. There's 200 to 300 teenagers. I just feel the family and people dropped the ball. I feel they dropped the ball on this one. Kylie lives about 12 miles away. And that's probably why the parents were a little bit more lax about it, because they were like, oh, she only lives 12 miles away. No big deal. Go ahead and go to the party. That's what I think maybe the parents were thinking, because she was so close to home. They didn't think it was a big deal. But Truckee is not the place to hang out at night and you're drinking alcohol, let alone you're under 21. All the red flags. At the Lost Trail Lodge, which her family runs. Okay. So she lives about 12 miles away at the Lost Trail Lodge where her family runs. Okay. So that's probably why the family was like, sure, the party's close by, go ahead. My problem is, I don't think the parents were really disciplining her and telling her she shouldn't be drinking at this party. I think they had some awareness of this given their prior knowledge of her drinking in the past, which is where I am very concerned. Friends last recall seeing her at the campground between 12:30 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. on August 6th. Unacceptable. I get it that she was only 12 miles away from home, but the parents should have given her an earlier curfew. She's 16 years old. She should not be out at 12 to 1:30 a.m. drinking alcohol in the middle of nowhere. I mean, bears could have came out there. Who knows? What other coyotes? There's all kinds of wildlife out there, especially at that time of night. And you're letting your 16-year-old daughter, who you know has a history of drinking, be out that late in those. This story, guys. I can't. I'm sorry. I keep getting off track. Also missing is her silver 2013 Honda CRV. Law enforcement says her phone went out of service around the time she was last seen. And she has not turned it back on. It last pinged was somewhere near Prosser Lake. That's where she is. That's exactly where I suspected. So the last place that phone pinged is the place where she is located, in my opinion. So did she talk to anyone before disappearing? I would think, okay, this is the thing where I'm wondering, because all these teenagers, they know they were drinking illegally. None of them want to speak. The authorities have, issued a call out to all the adolescents out there and said, hey, can you come speak to us? They're afraid that they're going to be charged with drinking underage or whatever things they were doing outside. In that particular area, Truckee, you got to be concerned about not only drinking alcohol, but drug use. It's just that kind of area. There's not much to really do out there. So those kids, in order to have fun, because they don't have much activities, they're going to get in trouble, basically, which is partying, drinking, drugs, all that stuff. So that's just something I'm really worried about. The question is, did she talk to anyone before she disappeared? And if she did, I think that person is too afraid to tell or talk about it because they know that they had been drinking or been involved in drug use, and their parents probably consulted an attorney, and the attorney said, I would stay out of it because you're probably going to be charged with a crime. Even though the authorities say that they're not going to charge anybody with underage drinking if they come clean, I just think whoever she spoke to before she left, because come on, when she left, she had to have told a friend goodbye. I mean, that's the norm. No friend's just going to up and get in their car and leave. She had to say, hey, I'm going to be leaving now. Take care, guys. Bye. So I feel as though she spoke to someone, but they're too afraid to come out and say. So Kylie spoke with a number of people shortly before she vanished. Exactly. Her mother, Lindsay Rodney Neiman, said Kylie texted her to say she would be coming straight home in about 45 minutes. Given the timing, it was about 1:30 a.m., if not later than that. The mother should have called her and really checked on her sobriety. Because if she's known about this girl drinking in the past, she should have called her and said, are you safe to drive? And really heard her on the phone to hear her speak, to see if she's slurring her speech or anything out of whack, so that she can come pick her up. But see, the mother's thinking, oh, she's just 12 miles away, no big deal, she'll be home. And that's where this tragedy ends. The mother said, I told her to be safe and that I loved her. And she said, okay, Mom, I love you too. Rodney Neiman told ABC News she never came home. That is so sad, guys. This is sad. I feel like her friends dropped the ball because they knew this girl was inebriated. They knew she was intoxicated, and they didn't stop her. And if there's any young people watching this, if you see your friend is intoxicated, you shouldn't be drinking. You shouldn't be drinking as it is if you're under 21. But I'm just saying, if you see your friend is intoxicated, you need to take their keys. It doesn't matter if you're known, people don't see you as the popular friend because you took someone's keys or whatever, or how you're portrayed. You're saving someone's lives by taking the keys away. But these friends, they saw that she was intoxicated. She said goodbye. She parted ways. There was a friend that came out that said she was going to get a ride from Kylie, but she saw that Kylie was so drunk that she didn't feel safe to drive back with her. So she said, oh, well, never mind. I'm not going to drive with her. I'm going to go somewhere else. That friend to me failed Kylie. That was not a friend. She should have took Kylie's keys because she recognized that Kylie was so drunk that even she wouldn't get in the car with her. She should have said, hey, let me take your keys. You are not safe to drive. I'm going to call your mother to come pick you up. Even if Kylie got mad at her and said, we're not friends anymore, you betrayed me, you're a tattletale, whatever, she would have been like, I don't care, but at least you're going to be alive. You're too drunk. I don't feel safe driving home with you. And if I don't feel safe, then you shouldn't be driving. So I feel like that friend who did the interview who said she felt she was too drunk, she was not a real friend. So, and this is part of the article that says, a friend told a conflicting story saying Kylie intended to stay at the campground overnight with her friends and was too drunk to drive back home. So that was what one of the friends said. And that's the thing that makes me wonder, why didn't Kylie stay? She knew she was too drunk. Allegedly, a friend is claiming she was going to stay. I wonder what. Maybe she felt her mom, wanted her to get home. I don't know. Because her mother allegedly said in a prior interview that her daughter would never get it behind the wheel and drive if she's too drunk, because she's even told her mother before she couldn't drive because she was too drunk. So it's weird why this all of a sudden she would deviate from her normal behavior. That's pretty weird. Kylie's boyfriend told Fox News that they text as usual that night, chatting about their days until 10:30 p.m. He also said he asked her to be safe at the party. And that's interesting. Her boyfriend didn't even come with her. That's weird to me too. I mean, was the boyfriend on punishment? Because it's weird. Like a boyfriend, I would think boyfriends are usually protectors. Even if they're 16-year-old teenagers, if they know their girlfriend is going to a party, they usually will go there with her to make sure she's okay, she's safe. They, drive her home, make sure she's good. So it's kind of weird that the boyfriend didn't go. I wonder if he was, his parents were smart. His parents were smart and like, no, you are not going to that party. You're 16 years old. You're not going to be out past 12 o'clock partying at, middle of nowhere. And those kids are over there drinking. The boyfriend probably had some smart parents that, was really watching out for their son. And thank God, because he would have probably ended up in the lake as well, unfortunately, and not be with us. So I think the boyfriend had some smart parents. I was just like, okay, be safe. Don't do anything stupid, he said. So I really think the boyfriend had smart parents. Okay, so the officers did a poor job on this, guys. They went and searched in the water in different areas, and it didn't seem like they did a good job. They did a couple days of searches and were not able to find Kylie. And it's just a tragedy because this poor girl's body ended up being found very close in proximity to where she was last seen. And it was like, how were the officers not able to find her? And she was found in shallow waters, only 14 inches under the ground, under the water. So it was like, why didn't they find her? They had these parents stressed out, blood pressure up, worried because they didn't do their job. Sorry, guys, this case frustrates me. Anyways, local law enforcement, the FBI, and volunteer search crews are doing grid searches of the area around the Prosser Lake campground because that's where she was last found, or her phone was last pinged. Swim and diver teams continue to probe nearby Prosser Lake, which is extremely murky. See, because the lake was extremely murky, these diver teams, they don't have the equipment and the particular skills to go into these murky waters. So they take extra precautions, meaning they don't do a thorough job when they're searching because they're trying to, preserve their own safety because they don't have the skills or the equipment to go into these extremely murky waters. So in my opinion, it feels like they just did kind of like a very careless search, but to protect their own selves and their own safety because they don't have the training to really navigate those murky waters, which is why they missed her car under the water. That's what I think. A diving operation like that is almost like you're going into the water blind and you're basically searching with your hands. So that key sentence there leads me to believe they didn't do a thorough job. They kind of just barely went in there. They couldn't go deep in there to find the car, which is weird because it was only 14 inches down, but they couldn't even do that with their training. So that tells me that the diver team and law enforcement need better training and they need better equipment because they should be able to navigate in those murky waters. It's very sad that they had to lean upon a YouTube channel, The Adventures with Purpose, to go in there, and within a few, I think it was like 20 minutes or an hour, less than that. It was like within minutes they found her when it took them several days to search these same waters and the officers couldn't find her. But then Adventures with Purpose goes in there and I think within 30 minutes they found her. So it was weird how a YouTuber was able to find this poor girl when the officers who have all this training and our taxes are going to them and everything, and they couldn't find her. And so all the parents are sitting there stressed, worried for days. And then the officers had the nerve to say, well, we're going to go ahead and stop our search after they searched for a couple of days and couldn't find her. But the reality is they didn't do a thorough job. She was sitting there the whole time. Oh, God, that's what frustrates me about this case. And there's huge information out there from other people that say that the California law enforcement, it could be very, there's a lot of fraud that goes on in the local law enforcement, and they don't really do good job in searching for people. There's the rumor that's going around about California law enforcement. So that could be another issue. But the law enforcement just said that once you start maneuvering the ground, it's like you're going through mud, and these are tough operations. So that's basically why they missed her, because they didn't really do a thorough job because they were concerned. Divers from YouTube channel Adventures with Purpose, which has over 2 million subscribers, say they're searching the Tahoe area for any sign of Kylie. We're here and we're going to cover every inch of water in the region until we find her and are confident she is not here. And that was Doug Bishop on his Instagram. And last weekend, a search and rescue team found a possible burial site. But to make a long story short, the Adventures with Purpose went out there and searched for her today. And within 30 minutes, allegedly, they found her. They found her very quick. So it's sad. And they found her 14 inches in the water, very shallow water. And the vehicle was upside down in the water. And that is so sad because I think she was so inebriated, so intoxicated, she just didn't see where she was going and drove directly into the lake. Because if you look at the water where it is, it looks kind of like a sandy area. So it's weird how she just drove directly in the lake. It wasn't like she was on a road and she just kind of lost control and tumbled over a cliff. It wasn't like that. It was like she drove into the sand and drove directly into the lake. So to me, that is someone who is not sober, someone who's not consciously aware of what they're doing and alert to what they're doing. I don't even think she was really rationally aware of her surroundings because she was so drunk. And a friend had mentioned that she noticed that Kylie was really intoxicated. So that is so sad that she drove directly into the lake, probably didn't know what was going on. Her car ended up tipped over, upside down, 14 inches under the water, and her body was there. It was so sad, guys. That's where the Adventures with Purpose found her. They identified her. They actually planned to do a video about the whole process of finding her. They are going to release that tomorrow at 8 a.m. I don't know what time zone that is. I think it might be Pacific time. I don't know where they're actually located, but they said 8 a.m. So that might be Pacific time. And so maybe you want to watch that to see their details of how they found her. They go through the whole process and everything. It's so sad, guys. But if they would have had Adventures with Purpose on this case from the get-go, they would have found her weeks ago. It's just sad that the parents had to suffer through this and, not know where their loved one was. And it was so sad seeing the mother, guys. The mother, she was suffering so bad for her girl. I honestly think the mother had an instinct that something wasn't right. Because it was interesting why her mother was like, oh, mothers will say be safe, but I just feel like she might have just felt, something wasn't right and wanted to really emphasize her daughter to be safe. Something about that just makes me, because she was 12 miles from her home. It was early in the morning. I mean, that is typically something a mother would say, but I just feel, something the mom may have felt something, was not right, in my opinion. But let's take a look at some of these videos about the story.
Why are oil industry executives and lobbyists launching
I hate ads, guys.
Breaking news tonight on Kylie Rodney's disappearance. The specialty search and rescue team, Adventures with Purpose, say that they have located the body and vehicle of the missing teen. They say they found Rodney inside her car, which is in just 14 feet of water. The team says they've notified family and law enforcement. Placer County Sheriff's Office will now be taking over the investigation, and the missing 16-year-old was last seen August 6th after attending a party with 200 other teens at Prosser Family Campground. We've got an ABC 10 crew arriving at the search site shortly, so we'll have more for you coming up on ABC 10 News at 6.
So she was found at the Prosser Creek Reserve.
Investigators and rescue divers joining forces at the Prosser Creek Reservoir in Truckee. Live Copter 3 capturing the moment a car...
Okay, now look at this, guys. This is what I want you guys to focus on. Look at this particular land here. It's a wide open, kind of sand-like area before you get into the body of the water. There is no way, if someone is sober, is just going to drive in that wide space, with sand, directly into a creek. She had to have been inebriated. It's dark at night. She's not conscious. She mistakenly thought that this, sandy area was the road. It was so dark at night, she couldn't even see where she was. And she was so intoxicated that she mistakenly thought that this wide open space of sand here was a road. That's sad. And she drove directly into that creek. So that's what makes me really, really believe my theory. And based on the witnesses, what they're all saying, that she was extremely intoxicated. Like, it was so bad that the friend was like, never mind, I'm not going to get a ride with her. Because she was going to get a ride with her, but she noticed that Kylie was so inebriated. And even Kylie noticed it, because Kylie even thought about staying at the campsite, which I don't know why she didn't just stay. I mean, she was 12 miles away. There's other people, obviously, that stayed. So she would have had friends there with her. In fact, the friend who noticed she was inebriated was staying as well at the campsite. So why didn't she just stay with the friend? That's the thing I'm really, asking. And then if you look at this body of land here, it's such a wide open land, and you have to wonder, no sober person would just drive on this wide body of land, knowing it's sandy, even the texture of the sand as you're driving on it, and drive directly into the creek. Unless she was, number one, so inebriated that she didn't even know where she was going. She mistakenly thought she was driving on the road home, which is so sad. Or two, you can think it's a self-conclusion, but I don't think it was a self-conclusion. I think she was so intoxicated that she mistakenly thought she was on a road. And honestly, her mind was not really there. It was sad. She was so intoxicated. That is sad. That's why this lesson is that, number one, parents, do not let your kids go out late. When you have a 16-year-old girl, she should not be in the middle of nowhere, permitted to be at a party past 12 or 1:30. I don't know if you have those old-fashioned parents that say nothing good happens past a certain time at night, usually open legs or something. I forgot what the saying is. If you know the saying, if you guys have them church going grandmothers that say that saying, they're like, nothing happens good past, I think, like 1 o'clock at night or whatever, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's only open legs in drugstores, wherever they say. But that's true. The saying is so true. Nothing good happens past, I would say, 12 a.m. in the morning. Nothing good. And you shouldn't have your 16-year-old kids out late. The parents knew that she drinks alcohol. They shouldn't even be letting her drink alcohol at that age. And number two, for youth, teenagers, do not let your friends drive intoxicated. You can tell if they're not all the way rationally there. Take the keys. Call their parents. You have to unfortunately be that unpopular friend that calls the parents to come pick them up, or you drive them if you can, or get an Uber, because this tragedy happened. This girl had so much promise and she is gone. And look at this. There's no other way to explain how she got on this sandy body of land and just drove directly into the water. And she's only about 14 inches down. So sad, but let's keep watching.
Was pulled out of the water Sunday night. A volunteer search group called Adventures with Purpose says their divers found that car as well as a body here, the same area.
So look, you can see the car being pulled out. That's her car being pulled out of the creek. And if you just look at that, you can tell she drove just directly into the water.
Where 16-year-old Kylie Rodney was reported missing.
It was a pretty big stretch for them to look for her. She could have been anywhere.
Adventures with Purpose says the car they found matches the description of Kylie's car, which is a silver Honda CR-V. It's important to point out that as of late Sunday night, the Placer County Sheriff's Office said it had not yet confirmed the identity of the body that was found.
It just baffles me that they weren't able to locate her in 2 weeks.
Kylie was last seen on August.
Exactly. See how they cut her off? She's saying what everybody else is saying. It is unacceptable. The authorities dropped the ball. They could have found her right there. She was within inches, if not a couple of, I don't know, short proximity from the very campsite that she was at. And the phone pinged at the Prosser Lake. So they knew that was the very last place she was. They should have been up and down that lake searching and combing through. But like I said, given the conditions of the murky conditions, those officers don't have training. They don't have enough training. And we wonder, we taxpayers pay these law enforcement and they have poor training. They don't want to get themselves dirty, it seems like. I mean, I think back to that Texas case where those officers at the school, there was 21 lives lost because the officers took like a whole hour or 2 hours to go and actually go into the classrooms to save the kids because they were too scared. They were just sitting out there in the hallways while these kids are getting murdered, just sitting in the hallways as the shooter was killing them. Similarly, in this case, the divers didn't have the training to go in and search for this poor girl. And so the parents were suffering for 2 weeks. 2 weeks in agony, wondering, thinking their kid was kidnapped, thinking their kid was molested. I mean, and there was people on YouTube, guys. It was terrible. There was people on YouTube talking about all these theories. It was just sick. Insensitive people online saying, oh, she was kidnapped by some guy, or the friends, they had something to do with it. They took her life, or just things. And so the parents have to see this stuff because they're on YouTube and doing all kinds of things because they are just completely distraught and they just want answers, and so they're out searching and they have to see all these people coming up with these theories and hypotheses of where she could be because the law enforcement didn't do their job. And the Adventures with Purpose went out there in 30 minutes. They found her 30 minutes and only 14 inches of shallow body of water. That is unacceptable. And if you go and watch Adventures with Purpose, you'll see they have a lot of similar stories like this where there's people that have been missing for 4 years, for decades or whatever, and they go into these very shallow, murky bodies of water and they find the car and they find the remains. So it's like, guys, it's like we need better training for these officers. They can't be scared to go into murky water. They need to be trained to go into murky water and not think about, oh, I'm too scared, Basically, that's what they're saying, guys. They're saying, oh, when they say, oh, the water's too murky, we can't see, it's like we're going into mud. You're basically saying that you're too scared and you don't have the proper training or equipment. And if they're going to go out and find these poor souls, that are lost and you know, as their job should be, then they should be efficiently trained to do their job. And we shouldn't have to call on YouTubers to do their job. It's just it's sad. Why do we have officers if they don't, you know, can't do their job?
6th at a party with hundreds of other teens at the Prosser family campground. Several law enforcement agencies, including the Placer and Nevada County Sheriff's Offices, California Highway Patrol, and the FBI, have been searching for Kylie ever since.
For them to not be able to find her, it is pretty, I don't know. It bothers me a little.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Adventures with Purpose was brought in to join the search just days ago and credits their use of sonar to locate missing people. Many in the community questioning why it took until their involvement for law enforcement to potentially have an update to the search in this area.
Why don't they have the equipment that they had to find her? Why, you know, where we live, we have bodies of water everywhere.
But others...
Exactly. Do you hear this, guys? These are local people that live there that are saying, why doesn't the law enforcement have the same equipment that these YouTubers have? It's unacceptable. And to think, you guys, if the Adventures with Purpose did not get involved, this case would have ended up being a cold case. That means the family would have probably been suffering for years, for decades, not knowing where their loved one was when she was only 14 inches down into the shallow bodies of water where her phone last pinged in the first place. That is unacceptable. There's no way to explain that. Why don't they have the equipment that these YouTubers have? We have all this tax money that they're getting, all this alleged training that they're getting. This is their job. They can't just say, oh, a little murky water, I'm too scared to go in, so we can't find her. And now the parents are suffering. You see the local people here are just like, what is going on?
Such as this man, who is a monthly donor to Adventures with Purpose, tell me they do not think this was an easy task.
I don't fault law enforcement in any way. They, you know, I know they put in thousands of hours of searching, and Adventures with Purpose just has a specialty. They have the knowledge of reading their sonar equipment.
While the search for...
Okay, but like, they have less money. They have less resources to get this equipment that this gentleman is saying. He's a fan of Adventures with Purpose, this man that just spoke. So why doesn't our divers and our, you know, law enforcement, why don't they invest in that type of equipment for their team? If they're going to be going out, there's their job to go out. It's their duty as us as taxpayers in these different states. We hold these law enforcement accountable for this stuff. They need to get the equipment. You can clearly see what the equipment they're using. Invest in that then. So I don't think it's acceptable, because that means this is setting a precedent that around the country, anytime the officers fail to have the equipment they need, that the Adventures with Purpose are going to be doing their job then. They're going to be the law enforcement that goes around the whole United States finding these loved ones because the law enforcement don't have the proper equipment. Then why don't they get the equipment? I still fault the law enforcement. I know that man is trying to be nice, but the Adventures with Purpose should not have to do the law enforcement's job, especially this case where the man says it wasn't an easy case. It was 14 inches. She was in shallow water within a very close proximity of where she left. I don't believe it was a difficult task. They're claiming it was murky water. Okay, why don't you have the proper equipment then? You have all these resources. You're getting paid all this tax money. You guys are supposed to get the best training in the United States to do these investigations. What are you doing with all that money? So I'm sorry, guys. I'm still mad about this case because those poor parents suffered so bad.
Answers continues. There is hope that the discoveries made by Adventures with Purpose will give Kylie's family some closure.
I knew if anybody could, they would be the ones.
I have been in touch with the media contact for Kylie Rodney's family. They tell me that the family has not gotten any word from law enforcement, so they do not have anything to share at this time. Meanwhile, the Placer County Sheriff's Office says they're holding a press conference tomorrow at 11 a.m., and we're hoping to get some more answers then. Reporting live in Truckee tonight, Orca Mann, KCRA 3 News.
All right.
Okay, so we'll have to follow up again on that press
It's
conference.
time you stop failing tech interviews. At Interview Kicks.
Yeah, we'll have to come back again and talk about the press conference once that happens tomorrow.
Breaking news tonight. After 15 days of searching, a heartbreaking discovery. The body of 16-year-old Kylie Rodney is believed to have been found by a specialized diving team. We took you out with Adventures with a Purpose as they looked for the teen yesterday at Donner Lake, and today they say that they discovered the 16-year-old's car and her remains under the surface of Prosser Creek Reservoir. Thanks for joining us for Fox 40 News at 10. I'm Eric Rucker. Kylie was last seen on August 6 after leaving a massive party at an area campground. The next morning, her mother waking up to her 16-year-old never making it home. Fox 40's Garshpal Sangha joining us now live from that area where the dive team reports that they found a body in a car in Garshpal, Nevada County Sheriff's Office.
I cannot imagine, you guys, the horror that Kylie's mother felt. She gets a text message from her daughter telling her she's headed home. Her daughter's only 12 miles from the home. And imagine all of those hours that her mother sat there wondering where her daughter was. And the mother's worst nightmare when she, probably falls asleep thinking, oh, she'll come home or whatever, and has to wake up knowing her daughter. It's like someone ripped out her whole entire heart and she's completely powerless. That's how you could describe the pain and the terror and the fear and the worry, a mother's worst nightmare that her daughter is gone. I pray for that poor mom. I pray for that poor mom.
Say that they are aware of the team's findings. We saw people out there earlier, but have them or Placer County confirmed any of this information yet?
Hey there, Eric. So far, no confirmation of the car and the body that they found here at the Prosser Creek Reservoir are of Kylie Rodney, but we did learn that there's going to be a news conference tomorrow morning at 11 where they're expected to provide an update here. But again, we're here at Prosser Creek Reservoir. As I fade in the distance, you can see that bright light. That is the area where they took that car out of the lake. That is the west shore of the Prosser Creek Reservoir, and we're on the east shore as investigators still protecting that area and trying to figure out exactly if that car and the body they found in there are of Kylie Rodney. A car pulled out of the water at Prosser Creek Reservoir in Nevada County. Adventures with Purpose, an independent dive team who made the discovery, believes it to be the car belonging to missing 16-year-old Kylie Rodney. They're also reporting her body was inside. Kylie has been missing for more than 2 weeks after being last seen at a large party on the morning of August 6th at the Prosser family campground. Authorities said last week her cell phone last pinged near the lake.
Have kind of a combination of fear and horror.
This is Kylie's mother.
A massive search began spanning over 2 weeks. And then Saturday, Adventures with Purpose joined those efforts, remaining in contact with investigators. They spoke with Fox 40 Saturday when they checked nearby lakes.
When you miss a loved one or a friend or a community member and you don't know, that's a nightmare.
Guys, this guy right here is incredible. He is so incredible. You got to go watch some of the videos on Adventures with Purpose and just the way that he communicates with the family members and how caring he is and how empathetic he is. And then you could just see how delicate he is. And even when there's one where he dives into the lake, there was this guy, this poor boy, who was 16 years old, same age as Kylie, actually, ironically. And this poor kid, his parents didn't know tragically that he was going through a lot of depression. He was feeling, thoughts of hopelessness. And one night he decided to go for a drive and purposely drove his vehicle into a lake. And the parents for 4 years, were going around, searching for their son. You know, and then they hired this investigator who was a complete fraud, who was making up these false stories saying that the kid was, who like ran off and joined this group and had, all these like problems, when in reality he was just doing that to get money from the family, basically. So the family was thinking all these theories in their mind and these conspiracy theories because of this investigator. And this man right here, guys, he goes into the water, and you could just see, it's cool how they actually have the camera in the water, so you could see his whole processing, how he goes in there, and he finds the license plate of the boy's car, and he takes the license plate. And he also is very careful with the evidence. He puts all the evidence back into the vehicle under the water, comes out with the license plate, delicately shows the license plate. And you could just see how caring and tender he was when he went up to the parents and spoke to them, so caring. And just, and you can also see the difference between how he spoke to the parents and how the authorities did. There was an officer that went and talked to him, and he was pretty much kind of cold and didn't really show much empathy. It seemed like he had heard these stories so much that he lacked any empathy. But this man, when he came and spoke to the parents, it was just the most beautiful thing. And it really brought me and other people to tears, different people who watched the video, because of just how beautiful he interacted and just how caring he was. And even how he had to communicate with the officers and actually explain to the officers how they needed to properly extricate or get this car out of the water, so that none of the evidence was taken out of the vehicle as they removed the car, because the windows had been broken, and the body and everything could just easily just come out of the vehicle. So he had to give the instructions to the law enforcement. That was pretty shameful. I saw that. He had to give the instructions to the law enforcement about how they had to properly take this car out of the water. But this man, guys, he is incredible. Oh, the way he communicates. You need to watch some of his YouTube, Adventures with Purpose, some of his videos, and you can see what I mean. Incredible man.
And so what we provide is those answers when we're able to. That's what we're hoping to do in this case.
The team is from Oregon, has millions of followers on their YouTube channel. They're known for traveling around the country to solve cold cases. So far, they've solved 23. The 6-man team declined to speak tonight of their discovery, but told Fox 40 diver Nick Wren found the car.
We're taking our resources and the intel that we've been provided, and we're trying to see different avenues, different places to look.
Their goal is to bring some closure to a family without answers.
It's tough. I don't want to find her. If she's here and something has happened to her, I do. I want to be able to provide the family in this community answers so they can properly lay her to rest.
And back out here live, as you see investigators still here at Prosser Creek Reservoir. Now, we did reach out to the family, and the family spokesperson did tell us if they haven't gotten any confirmation from law enforcement if the car that they took out of this lake, that car and the body from the lake, are of Kylie Rodney. Reporting live in Nevada County, I'm Garchpaul Sunda, Fox 40 News.
Garchpaul, thank you for that up.
That is so sad, guys. Poor Kylie. Poor Kylie, guys. It's so sad. Sometimes us parents, I'm not a parent, but parents want to be their kid's friend. They want the kid to see them as the cool parent. And so they bend the rules, and they're lackadaisical in some of the guidelines that they give their kids. And this is sadly something that could happen. Parents should not let their kids drink, number one. And also, unfortunately, you got to be that unpopular parent sometimes to not let your kids go out past certain times at the night, because you already know what's happening at those parties. Things aren't going well if it's past 12 a.m. You already know. They're involved in something they shouldn't be involved in, especially a 16-year-old girl. Another thing, too, is our young friends out there who are watching, who are in your teenage years and so forth, even if you're not, if you see that your friend is inebriated, it doesn't matter what age you are. You could be 20s and 30s or whatever age, 40s. If you see someone's intoxicated, just take their keys. I know you may not feel like the popular friend when you do that, but you're saving someone's life, literally. This girl could be here today. It's obvious that she wasn't in her right mind just by looking at the very body of sand, that wide body of sand that we saw. With all that open space, any sober person would have known that wasn't a road. Any sober person. from just driving on it and how the texture of the sand was, and also clearly visibly, if you're a sober person, you can see that's not a road and you could see the body of water. But given the dark location, given that she was intoxicated, she was only 12 miles away. There is history that a lot of kids, including her and other people, had gone to this particular location many times to party. That's the party location, one of the party places. So she's familiar with this area. So she knows the whole area inside and out because she's been to this place multiple times. She's only 12 miles away. So for her to have driven on this sandy, wide body of land directly into a creek tells me that she was not in her right mind, that she was intoxicated, under the influence, and couldn't recognize where she was because of the intoxication. And there were people at this party who said they saw that how drunk she was. It was really bad. And like I said, it was so bad that one of the friends who said she was considering getting a ride with Kylie. Let me see if I can find that, guys. I don't know if I'll be able to find it because you know how for these stories, they usually will just put the most recent story parts of it, and they will start kind of bearing away the other stories. So let's see if we can find that girl who said friend interview. I don't know if this is the friend interview, but there is a girl have been kidnapped. See, they were making up all these theories, guys. They were saying she was kidnapped. Oh gosh. This poor parents had to suffer through all this because of the cops. Friends and family searching missing campground. Trying to see if I can find disappears during party. That girl right there is her friend, though. The girl with her hand up. Right there, that's her friend. I'm trying to see Kylie's friends interview. Yeah, who knows if I can find it, guys, because they bury away those videos as the story progresses, and they put the more recent stuff. Teen, missing teen. Fine. Oh, here's one. I think this might be it, but let's see if we can find it.
Why are oil industry executives and lobbyists launching angry attacks?
Oh, come on, guys. All the articles. We don't want to see the ads. Okay. Here it is.
Let's go back to the beginning, I guess, real quick. Just give us a rundown.
Totally, yeah. So
let's go back to the beginning, I guess.
So just to give you a background, this girl right here is Kylie's friend. And she did an interview about Kylie regarding the night she went missing.
Real quick, just give us a rundown.
Totally, yeah. So Kylie is one of my close friends. We met through mutual friends, and we became closer in the past year to coming months recently, and she is just a light in a lot of people's lives. She's wonderful. She's smiling all the time. She's caring. She's beautiful. She's there for anybody who has ever needed her. She's very outgoing. She's outdoorsy too. She loves the water. She loves to sing. Her voice is just amazing too. And she's just a beautiful girl, and we all miss her a lot. And so,
yeah, I'm sure. You saw her at the party, right? You were at the party with her?
yes, I was the last person to contact her after the party, and I was with her basically throughout the entire party. I was
No, it's okay.
walking around with her. And
I know you got a lot going on. I
yeah,
get it.
I'm at the teen-to-teen meetup, so there's a lot of
No, everybody's wanting to talk to you, and like I said, I greatly appreciate every minute I have with you. Can you take a quick look at this photo? Is this what she? Can you confirm whether or not she was wearing this at the night of the party? Is that what she was wearing?
Yeah, so that top is exactly what I saw her in. If you can see on her left side, on her hip, you can see some skin. She was wearing a black bodysuit. I remember because we went to the bathroom together, peed in the woods together a couple of times, and so that's her shirt right there. The pants were different that she wore to the party. She was wearing green Dickies pants, but that belt is definitely what she's wearing too.
See, this is what makes me sad. This friend talks about how Kylie was her best friend, that they did everything together, all this stuff. But sometimes you have to really wonder, who is your friend? Who is your friend? If your friend is not looking out for you when they see you're intoxicated, or, you know, they're not trying to find out if you're safe, you know, they're not trying to be there for you to make sure you get in the car safe. Or if you're intoxicated, they see you're intoxicated, they're not taking your keys away to try to get you a ride or make you stay at the particular location. To me, that's not a friend. You have to really evaluate people in your life to see their behavior, not what they say. Because you'll find, and you'll be surprised to realize that people that claim to be your friend really aren't your friend. And that's really what makes me question this young lady here, because she said she was her friend. But my question is, she said she was the very last person that seen Kylie leave. That means she saw Kylie when she was highly intoxicated. She knew this girl should not have been driving, and she should have been a friend enough to take Kylie's keys. And that is so sad.
I remember watching her have to take it off when we were using the restroom together. We were out using the outdoor restroom, if like popping plot, basically. So, yeah.
That was just released from the Placer County Sheriff's Office. This picture,
Okay, so the Placer County Sheriff's Office, they said detectives have located surveillance video from a local business in Truckee where Kylie was spotted on August 5th at 6:08 p.m. prior to going missing. Kylie was last seen wearing a black spaghetti strap bodysuit, green Dickies brand pants with a black grommet belt and black Vans shoes. We continue to search for any information that will lead to us to Kylie. We have set up an email for online tips, and that was just the tips, but we already know where she is now.
Just found it on their Facebook page.
Yeah.
So there's talk about this top, the spaghetti straps top. Some people are saying it was found at the area. Can you confirm that, or is that?
So that has not been confirmed. If it has not been posted on our Find Kylie Rodney Instagram page, or on the website, or on the Placer County Sheriff's Office Facebook or anything, then it is not true, and it is not something that people should be following on or trusting. The information will be posted and will be coming from us when it is confirmed. So to let people know what to look out for, if a changed shirt or something. So yeah, that has not been confirmed.
Okay. Perfect. So at the night of the party, the last time you saw her, can you tell us about, I guess, give us a rundown of the party real quick. I understand it was a large gathering.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be a senior farewell party where all the seniors and everybody from around our area, like Tahoe and Truckee and Incline and Kings Beach, were supposed to be there. They were invited there because it was supposed to be like saying goodbye to your favorite seniors before everybody starts going off to college, because soon enough here people are going to start leaving and moving out. And so Kylie's a senior, or she graduated early, so she's considered a senior, and I was a senior, so every senior was initially invited to the party. And as well, all grades were invited, just so that they could say goodbye. So I had talked with Kylie, and I had known she was going beforehand. We hadn't planned on going together, and we ended up not going together. She came with her best friend Mags Larson. Magdalene, sorry, is her first name.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, and so she came with her, drove in with her, and then Mags ended up leaving about 10 minutes into the party with her boyfriend, Ross, Mags' boyfriend. And
so Mags was supposed to be her best friend, and see, the whole thing that if you're friends, if you go to a party together, you leave together. sometimes these kids and stuff and people, they get these boyfriends and they just put these boyfriends on the pedestal and they just leave their friends by the wayside. And it's so sad. If Max came to that party with Kylie, she should have left with Kylie, or she should have been monitoring her friend to make sure her friend was safe. But she abandoned her friend, which then subjected her friend to have to drive home, or thinking she had to drive herself home without having her friend there. And that's another failure that happened in this story to Kylie. It's just so sad that all these people that claim to love Kylie failed her.
Told Kylie goodbye and everything, and they were never planning on like leaving together or staying together at the party. They just went to the party together because they were hanging out earlier in the day. And then I saw her the second she got there, and from that moment on, we were pretty much seen together all around the party. We would break off mere moments from each other to go talk to other people or to go do other things, you know. But we would always come back to each other. We were just going around the party. We were drinking the same drinks, being teenagers, throwing glow sticks into the party, and it started to grow really big. I would say around 10 to 10:30, it just blew up. Like, it started to get to the point where I was getting overwhelmed, and I'm a very social person. I've been to a lot of these parties. I've never been overwhelmed. I've actually been underwhelmed, but at this party, it was...
All these parties. These kids are so spoiled. They're 16 years old going to all these parties. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. My mom was strict. When I was 16, maybe my mom was more strict than other parents, because when I was 16, I wasn't allowed to go to any house parties. I barely got to go to the prom, guys. I never went to any house parties until I got into college. My mom would not let me go. And now I thank her for that because I'm still alive. But these 16-year-old kids are so privileged out in Truckee. Truckee's like one of the more affluent areas too. You got a lot of the rich parents and all that. So those kids out there are very spoiled. They get away with all kinds of stuff. They can basically do what they want. It's sad that these parents let these kids out here in the middle of nowhere, because Truckee is a very kind of, like I said, rural area. I mean, wildlife and all kinds of stuff. And then there's a lot of bodies of water. Let these kids out here playing or partying, drinking, and all kinds of stuff, you know, past 12 and 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I just, with no parental supervision. There's no parents there. Not one parent was at the location. I just feel like all the parents dropped the ball in this situation. This stuff like this happens when we don't have parent supervision past certain time frames.
It was very large. Like, it was bigger than any party we've had in Truckee all year, and for a lot of years past. There are people from what we think Sacramento, San Francisco. I remember talking to somebody who's from San Francisco, Reno, Folsom, areas that were just way out of reach from it, and it was really overwhelming and weird to see, but I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, oh, kids are around here, they have vacation homes up here, they're just coming to party, because why not? So then Kylie and I were going around taking shots and just drinking. We were trading drinks with each other, we were sharing drinks with each other. We would go back to her car to get some alcohol sometimes, and then...
Wow. Do you guys hear this? Do you guys hear this? 16-year-old girls getting wasted. I mean, shot after shot after shot, going to the car, getting other different forms of alcohol. Unacceptable. What are these parents doing over there in Truckee? Unacceptable. Number one, these parents dropped the ball. They should have not had any of these kids at this party unless there was parents. Number two, this girl here is escorting her friend around, sharing drinks, doing shots with her friend, going to the car, getting extra alcohol. And then she allows her friend to get behind the wheel and drive, because this girl's still alive. So clearly she made a responsible decision to stay back at the campsite or whatever, or not drive herself at least, because she knew she was too intoxicated. So why didn't she look out for her friend? This is unacceptable. I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting loud. But I'm just like, wow. You let your friend leave knowing she had all those alcohol. You shared all these drinks with her. And you just let her get behind the car and drive? Get behind the wheel and drive? Make it make sense.
We went to her car to charge her phone, and we were talking about just random stuff, and then it's kind of hard to remember. And so, or no, we were talking about her texting her mom and her charging her phone and stuff, and just about the party in general. And then we had a few other friends in the car, and then we all decided to go back to the party, and we were around there for a bit. I had asked her for a ride home when we were in the car because my ride was leaving, and I wanted to stay at the party longer. And so then we ended up splitting up in the party because I went to go find another ride when we got back into the party after leaving the car, so that we could sorry, my mind is in a moment.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
So she was gonna ride behind her car and ended up finding another ride. She knew Kylie was too drunk to give her a ride. That's why she went around to find another ride. But she let her friend get behind the wheel. I feel like the parents, either they're not telling their children, educating their children about drinking and driving.
We can look to the past. The only reason the past exists in our mind anyway is so that we can refer to it in order to maneuver in the present.
Sorry, guys. My little alarm went off and then some random person started talking. But it's just like, guys, this story just makes no sense to me. Sam, you failed your friend. Like, I look at this girl and I'm just so disappointed. She had a duty to take her friend's keys. She owed that to her friend and she didn't do it.
I want to take a couple of questions here real quickly. Noah in the chat wants to ask you, who was fighting at the party? The girl and Guy, look into them. Was there a fight at the party?
Yeah, so there were some friendly fights that were going on. There was, like, we had boxing gloves. People were, like, trying to instigate. It wasn't anybody who had really any drama or they weren't enemies or anything. It was more just friendly fights to keep entertainment going. This happens at a lot of our parties. We just do it to have fun. If somebody gets hurt, like, we have people on them, but
so it wasn't like a fight out of anger. It was just kind of just a fun competition type of fighting.
Yeah, just see who wins and who goes home with the title.
But yeah, Dinah brings up a good point. And I like how Dinah kind of, gave the introduction, not to victim blame, but the friend is talking so matter-of-factly that she seems to have no emotions about what happened. Exactly, Dinah. That's the kind of vibe I get from her. I don't know what to take from that. Either one, she doesn't suspect any foul play at this time. This is before they found her body, just to let you know. So maybe she could just be believing and hope that Kylie will be found. But even then, with that being said, if my friend, even if I'm 16, if my friend has been missing for days and I was the last one to see my friend and I knew my friend was intoxicated when she drove, well, I wouldn't let my friend drive anyway. I'm too caring. I would have took that key and everything. But even if I was Sam, if I was in her shoes, I would be panicking. I would feel guilty. I would be crying. She, like Dinah says, she just seems so matter of fact, just like it's a regular old day in the neighborhood. And even she can't even focus on the interview because she's so distracted by her peers. Her peers are out there having fun, whatever. They're at this little campsite, whatever they're doing over there. And so she's feeling as though this interview is taking away time that she could be spending with those people out there. Right? She could be out there hanging out with her friends, so she can't even focus on the interview. That is, he's asking key questions about her friend that she says is her best friend, but she doesn't show any really form of emotion, and she's so distracted by all the other kids out there playing and what are they doing, hanging out, and she feels like she's missing out on the fun, so she can't even focus on the interview. This is crazy. It's crazy. It's like, I know she's 16, and I don't want to victim blame like Dinah said, but it's like, wouldn't you be so focused on trying to find your friend that you don't even care what's going on in your surrounding? You want to try to focus in and figure out, brainstorm, with this guy, and, the interviewer about how you guys can find your friend that you say is your best friend. So I'm glad Dinah brought that out because I didn't really focus too much on her emotions because I was still so distracted on the intoxication part and how they're over there, 16-year-old kids drinking shots at 12 and 1:30 in the morning and the parents aren't don't have any form of curfew or supervision. They're just letting their kids hang out like they're adults. That's crazy. None of my parents would never do that. Oh, sorry guys, I keep going off on tangents because this story just gets me roused up. It's so sad. Kylie should be here.
Which I will candidly admit, people do end up getting in fights over who won, but not this time.
Daniel Taylor, and Nola, thank you for that comment. Daniel Taylor's in the house. Daniel Taylor wants to ask you, did Kylie have her boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend with her at the party?
No, there was no ex-boyfriend there. Her ex-boyfriend lived in Napa. He was in Napa at the time, and I think he lives in Napa. And he actually drove up the next day the second he heard that she was missing. He's very close with her family and her. There was no anything. And she does not currently have a boyfriend. She was rocking the single life, like we used to say.
What? Because I don't know if she was single, because we just read an article. You guys remember we just read an article earlier saying that she had a boyfriend and that she spoke to her boyfriend on the phone. And he couldn't go to the party, and he told her to have fun. So I don't know if that was at her ex-boyfriend that she spoke to, or was at her boyfriend. It seemed like this friend doesn't even know what's going on in her friend's life. Either the article is not accurate, or the friend is not really a friend, and she's just seems as though she's kind of clout chasing. It feels like, if she doesn't even know what's going on. I don't know, guys. You guys be the judge. So is the article wrong, or is the friend wrong?
He just wanted to be open and single and
Yeah.
have fun as a kid.
She's only 16. She's just a baby. I just can't even imagine. How's mom doing? Have you talked to her mom at all?
It feels like these 16-year-old, these teenagers, guys, they're growing up way faster than prior generations. Like, they're supposed to be 16, but you just wouldn't expect a 16-year-old to be out 2 o'clock or whatever in the morning at a campsite drinking and getting getting drunk. Who knows? I don't know if they had drugs over there. There's people online saying there was drugs, but there hasn't been any evidence of that. But we do know there's drinking. But it just seems like these 16-year-olds are acting more like 20-year-olds this generation, it seems like. He says that she's just a 16-year-old girl, but she's not acting like a 16-year-old girl. They're acting like college students to me, like fraternities, sororities out there partying. That's how they kind of remind me of, like those sororities and fraternities that get drunk and have parties. That's the kind of vibe I get from the story of how their parties was, that they're all getting drunk and getting wasted. I mean, this friend's going around drinking multiple shots with Kylie, then going to the car, getting extra alcohol. It's like, this doesn't sound to me like a 16-year-old. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so I've been in close contact with the family.
How they doing? She looked like just a nervous wreck. I can't even imagine what she's going through.
Yeah.
Our thoughts and prayers are. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say our thoughts and prayers are with the family. It's got to be a hard time. What can we do to help? What can the public do? The web sleuths out there. What can? Okay, so basically the interview's over, guys. That's pretty much the essence of the interview. You guys tell me what you think. It's just sad. It feels like so many people failed Kylie. People that claimed to be her friend, to me, weren't really her friend. They didn't really care about Kylie like they claim. Because if they did, there is no way that this friend should have ever let her drive. She was with her the whole time. She said that people saw her with her, drinking all this alcohol. They were sharing drinks. She knew Kylie shouldn't have drove. And that just goes to show that these parents need to have more supervision over their kids, because when we have kids that aren't mentally developed, truly, drinking alcohol at a premature age, they're not making responsible decisions. And because they're not even conscious enough to make, or rational enough to make, reasonable, safe decisions for themselves, how much more are they going to be able to make rational decisions or protect and look out for their friends? They're just not mature enough to handle drinking alcohol. So I feel like the parents in this story failed their children, all of them. And I feel so much empathy. I'm not trying to victim blame, guys, but a lot of the reasons why we do these stories is to help shed light on these stories and also to learn lessons from them. So it could be a lesson for other parents out there who see this story to, sometimes you can't be your children's best friend. I know you want to. And in this particular area, we're in the Truckee, Tahoe area, a lot of affluent parents are out there and they spoil their kids rotten and they want to be the cool parents. And so they just let their kids do whatever they want. And it's like,
it's not, you're not looking out for your kids. You're not. I'm sorry. And I'm not victim blaming. I'm just speaking the reality of it, because we have to be honest with these stories in order to protect the future lives out there. That the takeaway in this story is we can't be our kids' friends, okay? We gotta set certain parameters. If you're 16 years old, your kid should not be out past a certain time frame. They need to have curfews. I don't care if it's summertime or if they're seniors in high school, they need to have curfews. And if you're going to let your kids stay out certain hours, which I don't recommend it, because after a certain time at night, good things don't happen. We hear of shootings past 12 a.m., drunk driving, even if she was sober driving home. Let's just say hypothetical. There were other people driving on the road that could have been intoxicated who could have got in an accident with her. Either way, past a certain time at night, 16-year-old kids should not be out that late. And if they are, they need to have parental supervision at that party. If it was a house party or something like that and there was parents there to supervise the kids or some adult there, then that's understandable. But when you have a party like this that's in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness somewhere, I just call it the wilderness, guys, because it's kind of like that, and it's like a body of water and all that, and there's no parents around, kids are bound to get into trouble, drinking alcohol, doing things that are irresponsible, that are not safe. And this was inevitable. This was going to happen because there was just no form of supervision. These kids were allowed to roam, and they just don't have sometimes those logical skills or those decision-making skills that the adults have sometimes to make rational decisions, And so they will more likely than others take these risks that can end up costing them their lives. And this story is so tragic because Kylie was such a lovely young lady, according to people that knew her. She had such talent, a lot of talent. She was a senior. That's what makes this story so sad, because she was almost to the point of graduating, starting her life as an adult, being able to go to college, wonderful things that just really are beautiful parts of people's lives when they graduate high school and be able to start college and join sororities and all these cool little fun things they get to do in college. She doesn't get to do that anymore. She will never be able to get married. This story's so sad. Sorry, guys, I ran on a tangent. This story just made me so sad. And I'm sorry, guys. I was just being very honest about things. So I'm not trying to victim blame, but there are lessons in these stories that we need to learn, which is why we talk about them, so that we can save another life. We can save a couple of lives from these stories. And that's why it's important to talk about them. But let's see what you guys have to say. Hi, Dinah. You are giving some great input on the story. You said so many reasons the friends dropped the ball. They were probably inebriated. Exactly. They didn't care about her. Exactly, Dinah. Just say it like it is. Just say it like it is. They witnessed the girl driving drunk before and thought she'd make it home as normal. Exactly. That is not, like, Dinah honestly summarized it to the T of what happened. It's like, sometimes you cannot believe someone saying they're your friend. You cannot take someone's word for it. A lot of times you gotta look out for yourself, which is pretty sad. But friends look out for friends. Friends make sure their friends get home safe. Kylie had a lot of people fail her in this story. Number one, her parents. I'm sad. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I gotta be honest. And I pray so much for her parents right now. I know they're suffering, but it's the truth. We got to talk about it, because this is going to help other future parents out there. Her parents were too busy trying to be Kylie's friend and let her go out to this party. They knew of her having a history of drinking. They allowed her daughter to violate the law to drink alcohol in combination with taking a vehicle. They didn't even look out to find out if there was going to be adults at this place. They seemed to not have set any type of curfew for her because she was past 1:30. I think she left the party around 2 o'clock in the morning. So it just seemed like the parents didn't have any type of control over the girl or any guidance or anything about that. It seemed like when she texted her mother, there was no indication to find out, what was the condition of her daughter. Had she been drinking? They knew that she drank before. So I would think as a parent, you're going to call your daughter up to be like, did you drink any alcohol at this party? How are you feeling? Are you sure you need to drive? Because if you can't, I can come pick you up when we're only 12 miles away. Your dad and I can come pick you up. I can drive your car home, and he can drive you in the other car, whatever. So that's the thing. Number one, parents, we're not our kids' friends. We got to set up certain parameters. God gives us certain responsibilities as parents, and one of that is to guide our children in His way. You know, to discipline them when they need to give them the guidance. We really need to do that because kids at the age of 16 do not have certain, in my opinion, certain decision-making capabilities that you as the parent have. And so sometimes you can't be your child's friend. I mean, think about it. Her boyfriend, if the article is correct that she had a boyfriend, he didn't even come to the party. You have to ask yourself, what was the reason he didn't go? Maybe his parents had the wisdom to say, I don't think you should go to this party. Just the conditions and the whole factors related to this party. I mean, it's in the middle of some campsite, past certain hours. There doesn't seem to be any supervision there. No, you're not going. So that's number one thing. Parents, we're not our kids' friends. We need to set up certain guidelines, boundaries, parameters. Number two, don't always trust what someone says. Not everybody is your friend. It's so sad. You may have a beautiful heart, and you may be a giver, and you may really be a true friend to people, but you can't use that as your guidance to think that people are going to treat you the same way. That's what I learned in my life. Some people will say the right things and claim they're your friends, but you really need to evaluate their behavior. And number three, don't drink and drive. Just don't do it. I know you may think that you're invincible and you can get home. Just don't do it. There's so many other options. I mean, you can get an Uber, you can have someone come pick you up, you can get a hotel, you name it. But don't risk your life, and don't risk the life of others, because there's so many stories of people who drive drunk and end up getting collisions, and they end up killing innocent victims, and they end up walking away scot-free with no injuries. So, and then also, if you drink and drive and you get pulled over, you're gonna have to pay thousands of dollars, plus your insurance is increased, plus you have a criminal record now because you get charged with a DUI, driving under influence conviction, and your license gets suspended. There's so many consequences to drinking and driving when there's so many other options that you can take, and you can save a life. So those are the three lessons I think we can learn. You guys can let me know what you think we can learn, but let's see what everybody else has to say. I wonder if anyone else was with her that others didn't know about. I know, Dinah, that's a question. The interesting thing is she came there with a friend. The friend abandoned her. I know Sam said that they didn't intend to leave together, but I just feel like as a friend, me personally, I can only speak for myself. If I go to a party with my friend, even if I have a boyfriend and my boyfriend's there, I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, honey, but I have to stay here with my friend and make sure she's good. She's okay. I feel like my friend is my responsibility. If I come to a party with her, then I'm going to leave with her. I'm going to make sure she's safe and she gets home. And I've gone, you know, I don't go to parties anymore, but I've gone to parties with friends. And that was one of the things I've always done, and we always did. We always look out for each other. We always make sure, like me personally, I would drive home with my friend to make sure she gets in the house, and I wouldn't even leave the house until I see her get into the door and the door shuts, and then I leave. But it's just interesting how it seems like so many people failed Kylie. So many people really didn't truly care about her. It's sad, like the friends at least. And I'm not trying to victim blame again. I'm just being real because we have to unfold these things so that we can learn the lessons and the guidance from it to hopefully pray that we can save a life the next time. Yeah, Dinah, I was glad they found her too, but it is a very sad ending. This had me sad all day when I found out. And right, Dinah, that is a saying. I think we need to revisit that back in school, that friends don't let friends drive. I think people stopped really talking about that. I know when I was in high school, they actually did a whole speech on that, and they had people come out and speak about drunk driving and the results of it, and they had photos of it. They had a whole like workshop on it at my high school. But the weird part is nowadays these schools kind of drop the ball. They don't really talk about drunk driving as much anymore. So I think they need to do that again in the schools, because that would really help kids out if they can hear from, experts and people out there, or kids who are victims of drunk driving, that can say, friends don't let friends drive. We need more of those speeches to come back in the school, or people to come back in the schools to talk to our youth about that, because that really helped me growing up. I know when I was in high school and in elementary and stuff, there would be people that came out. We got to go around and see vehicles that were involved in collisions, and they would tell stories, or we had, teenagers come and talk to us and stuff to tell us what happened to them. And they would say, if your friend is intoxicated, don't let them drive, or of course they say you shouldn't be drinking anyway, but they're saying if you see someone intoxicated, friends don't let friends drive. And this story, look how sweet this girl was. Dinah, I can't imagine how she must have felt if she realized that she was drowning. I know, Dinah. That's the question. I don't know. I really don't want to imagine how she felt. I don't know. That's the thing. It just probably took her by surprise, because she was so intoxicated that she didn't even recognize that she wasn't even driving on a road. So, I don't know. I just hope she wasn't really aware of what was going on. I don't know. I just don't want her to have suffered. Maybe it's the geographical area and what youth are familiar with. Most kids around my area are into weed and not drinking. It's interesting and strange at the same time. You're right, Dinah. It's definitely the geographical area. I am familiar with the Truckee location, and yes, in that area, it is culturally known that the teenagers go to that particular location and they drink and they do all kinds of stuff there and they party. And there's usually no parent supervision. That is the culture out there in that Truckee area. And the kids are very privileged and they're very spoiled, and the parents don't seem to have any form of discipline. They just kind of let their kids do whatever. It's kind of like the culture. They're just so spoiled out there, it seems like. That's just the take I get from that area. So yeah, it probably is. That's kind of how that area is. But again, they need to stop that, because look, this is what happened. This is the tragedy that happened because of how lackadaisical the parents are over there. And I hope that the parents will, even those that have kids that made it home, will reconsider, some of the boundaries that they have in terms of, letting these kids go to these parties at these campsites in that particular location. But I do know in that area, Dinah, that you're right. That is a particular practice that they do out there at that particular campsite. They go and party there a lot. Her friend is missing dead, and she's still concerned about a party. Exactly, Dinah. Did you see her so distracted by the interview? She saw some people the kids out there, I don't know what they were doing, partying or whatever they were doing, and she was so focused on that, like she felt like, like a kid that wants to go on a field trip or whatever, and they feel like they're missing out, and they're so anxious to get done with whatever they're doing, or get done with their homework, or get done with their chores or whatever, so they can go out and play with the other kids or whatever. That's kind of how the vibe I got from her. Like she was like ready to be done with her chores, quote unquote, of being involved in this interview, because she was trying to go to interact with the other teenagers that were at that location. So that was kind of weird to me. I actually thought she was older than 16, 22 at least. Exactly, Dinah, because she appeared to be acting like an adult. She's out late, she's partying, she's drinking a lot, doing all these shots. That's kind of similar to someone in their 20s. So that's exactly what I was thinking too. If this girl was her friend, I'd hate to think about what the enemies are like. Exactly, Dinah. Woo! Woo, some people that claim to be your friend, guys, are not your friend. That's one of the lessons you can learn from this. Sometimes you have to look out for yourself, because not everyone who claims to be your friend is not really your friend. She knew Dinah. She knew that Kylie was intoxicated because she was going around drinking with her the whole night. They shared shots together. Why did she let Kylie drive? That don't make any sense. But see, in their mind, they're thinking, oh, I'm 12 miles away from home. Because they all live in that area. Not all of them. A lot of the people that came out from Sacramento, San Francisco, other places too. But her particular friends, they live in that area. Her, Kylie, and the girl that did the interview, those particular people live in the Truckee area. So they kind of are all related to each other. Families know each other. it's that close-knit type of environment in the Truckee area. That's kind of how the culture is out there. So they're thinking, oh, we're just close to home. We're about 12 miles away. It's no big deal to drive drunk. No, it doesn't matter how short distance you are from your house. Do not drive and drink. And the friend let her do it. Oh, gosh. She feels no guilt either. That's the weird part about it, too. If I was in an interview and I know my friend was inebriated and drove, and I was the last one to see her, I would be feeling all forms of just like of responsibility for her. Like, man, I should have never let her drove. What is going on? She was so relaxed in that interview, like she was just interviewing for a school newspaper. It was like it didn't really matter to her that her friend is missing. And she's supposed to be, she says she's one of her close friends. That's just so, this story, guys, I'm sorry that I'm getting so emotional, but it's just like this girl should be here. So sad. This poor girl. She just seems so precious. Oh, look at her. She had her whole life ahead. These poor girls. If there were nearly 300 youth at this party, wow, what were the parents thinking that would be happening here with no supervision? That's crazy. Exactly, Dinah. I mean, exactly. I mean, you would think, and this is what normal parents do. Like I said, in this area, those kids are more spoiled, privileged kids. It seems like they just get anything they want. But normal parents, they're usually like, okay, you want to go to a party? Okay, is there going to be parents there? Where is it located? All that stuff. Is there, shouldn't be any drinking at that party? They want to know details. And a lot of times they want to meet the parents that are going to be there to facilitate the party so they can make sure the environment is safe and their kids are going to be safe. But these parents didn't even care. They're like, oh, whatever, go ahead, have fun. Come home whenever you want, daughter. A 16-year-old kid, there's no curfew. She's out past 1:30 in the morning. And the mom didn't try to call to say, Kylie, have you been drinking? Because you're saying you come home, but have you been drinking? Because if you've been drinking, I need to come pick you up. She just was, I don't know. I'm just sorry, guys. I'm not trying to victim blame. I'm sorry. We need to learn from this. It's so sad. Poor Kylie. So many people failed this girl. And I do feel for the parents because the parents are suffering. It's so sad. And like Dinah said, it's a very devastating lesson to learn. And it's so devastating because it's like, it's too late. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes these lessons to learn, we have to learn it before the tragedy happens. And that's why we go over these stories. Depending on where you are, 12 miles can be far. That can be about 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the traffic. Yeah, you know what? That is kind of true. It does depend where you are, though. Because 12 minutes can be close by. 12 miles can be close, like 12 minutes away, not that far. It's not that far. But then, like you said, Dinah, it could have been far. But I think the 12 miles, they were saying it wasn't that far. Let me see, based on the article. The way they describe it in the article, they made it sound like it was not that far from where she was. But in this particular location, it does depend because this area is really, it's one of those, like, there's a lot of like forests and wild. They do a lot of hiking over there. They have a lot of campsites over there, windy roads, stuff like that. So, logically speaking, yeah, 12 miles could possibly be far, but it could be close too. I'm trying to find that part in the article where they were saying it was like, it seemed like it was not that far. The way they kind of worded it. Let's see. Okay, she texted to say she would be coming home in about 45 minutes. Okay, it says Kylie lives about 12 miles away at the Lost Trail Lodge, which, you could be right, Dinah, because like I said, this area is really, the roads are really windy and narrow and just, it's not really safe, first of all, to be driving late at night in the first place at that particular location. But given these people are very familiar with the roads over there and how the conditions over there, so they can just do whatever they want. They could drive whenever they want because they already know those roads like the back of their hand. But when you add alcohol to that, You can clearly see this girl was so inebriated that she ended up taking a wrong turn, driving onto sand. If she was sober, she would have known that she was not on the road. She didn't even recognize that she was on sand. And she drove right into the creek as if she thought it was a road. She thought it was a continuing road. That's how intoxicated Kylie was. And it's sad that these friends saw that. The Sam girl saw that. And she didn't do anything to save her friend, stop her friend. She just was going about her business. And the weird part is she said, she knew that Kylie was too inebriated. That's why she went to find another friend to get a ride. She's like, oh yeah, I was going to get a ride from Kylie, but then I went to go look for another friend. Yeah, because you knew she was too intoxicated. Because she said in another interview that she didn't get a ride, because there was another interview I watched or heard that she didn't get a ride because she saw that Kylie was too intoxicated. There was one that I do recall watching where the same girl said she didn't want to get the ride because she felt Kylie was too intoxicated. So yeah, this is the community post from Adventures with Purpose who ended up finding her. I thought I'd just read it because they give the details of how they found the car. They said, we just found Kylie. That was 10 hours ago. They said the car is upside down in only 14 inches of water. We have confirmed Kylie is inside. Family notified, law enforcement on their way. And we will be on the scene for the rest of the day. And they're going to live stream tomorrow. And they're going to make an announcement. But they're going to do a live tomorrow at around 8 a.m. I believe it's Pacific time. So whatever time zone you're in, probably want to tune in to their channel, Adventures with Purpose, because they're going to give more details about how they found her and all that stuff if you want to know. But I just pray Kylie rest in peace. I pray for her family that they will have comfort from the Lord through this horrible, tragic time. I can't imagine the pain and the agony and just the horror and the terror and the nightmares that these parents are going to have to go through to try to cope with this. But I am very thankful that they found her, because the sad part is law enforcement and other people were going around saying all these allegations that she was kidnapped and all these things. And so imagine the nightmares that the parents were having at night, thinking that their daughter was abducted or taken in, kidnapped by some guy or whatever. So at least they know where she is, but it's still going to be a long road for them to try to cope with this reality that they're going to be without Kylie. It's so sad. But friends, don't let friends drink and drive. Please do not let your friends drink and drive. If you're intoxicated, don't drink and drive. And parents, you cannot be your child's friend. You have to set up certain boundaries. That's why God entrusted you with your children, to just keep them safe. I know you want to be their friends, and you want them to have fun, but you also want them to come home to you too. So there's certain rules that you have to put in place to ensure your children are safe. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Take care. Be blessed.